Oh, good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Most welcome. Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us this fine Monday morning. Hope everyone is doing well. And welcome to the new month as well. So let's hope that we can start off this month with a bang, at least with some good amount of profits. So at least that's the hope. So I guess we can be able to start now. Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanieru, a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these webinars, ideally, we as a Forex team, we analyze the market, we identify what trading opportunities we're looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, not here alone, I'm here with the Forex team. So John is in the back office here to assist with whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and the team will be able to respond to you. But remember, I will also be addressing any and all questions at the end of the webinar. So if you are watching us from YouTube or any other social media platform, there should be a link down there in the description that you can be able to join the Zoom meeting. Ideally, it is free of charge, and we are doing this so that we can give you guys as much value as possible. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with a review of what we did last week, at least the pairs that we had last week that we're not going to be looking at today. Then we will focus on today's pairs. So we'll start off obviously with the watch list. So on Friday, this was our watch list right here. We were looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc and the Canadian dollar, and we were going to mix and match that with all the pairs on the buy side. So that's the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, British pound, the euro, the yen, as well as the US dollar. However, today there has been a slight change. So if I come to today's watch list, you can be able to see we're still going to be looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc as well as the Canadian dollar. However, the Japanese yen and the US dollar have moved back to the sell side. So we're going to be focusing on mixing and matching these pairs on the sell side with the rest of the pairs on the buy side. So let's jump straight into the pairs that we had on Friday, that at least let's see what opportunities could have happened before we do focus on today's pairs. So we'll start off here with the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. Now remember, on Friday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out. Ideally, the aggressive sellers area at the top. We had a semi-conservative area right here in the middle, as well as a problem area down here at the bottom, where we did end up making sure, or at least informing you that you should manage your trades. And you can see the timings that we always point out, 10, 3, and 4:30. Those are the market opening times. So those are the best times that you can be able to find some nice trading opportunities. So if we look at the market at 10, where the price was just within this area, you can see it did end up spiking up a bit, coming back close towards the seller's area before it actually started moving down. Now, there was a nice selling opportunity then, but you can remember also point out, whenever a level is reached, wait for the pullback and the hold below to confirm that you can be able actually to end up entering another trade. So you can see once the price reached this area to the downside, there was a pullback. It was just before 3 o'clock, this is around 1 o'clock. And you can see when the price was holding below, there was another selling opportunity there, being able to take the price all the way back down towards this buyer's area. And you can see if you did not manage your trade within this buyer's area, you can see what the US big boys did. So this was just after 4:30. The Japanese yen did end up gaining a lot of weakness, it seems. And you can see the way the price came straight back up, coming back all the way till the main seller's area right there at the top. So the trade did work out during the London session and not during the US session. So do make sure, even if you're in a trade during the London session, make sure you're doing some trade management at 3 o'clock or at 4:30. So watch out for these times, because those are times when you can be able to actually enter a trade, or that's a time when you should actually be exiting your trade, because the other big boys could end up taking the market in the opposite direction. But you can see this trade worked out well. But unfortunately, today it is off our watch list because the Swiss franc and the Japanese yen are both meant to be showing weakness. And you can see when the prices show weakness, the prices end up entering into some sort of range. You can't even assume that the way the market is bouncing between these two levels, this was just a very huge probe. I think if we end up looking at it on a much larger time frame, maybe let's say the 4-hour time frame, you can clearly see this was just a probe where the price came down and came straight back in and still been holding above this particular level. So unfortunately for us today, this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list. So moving on to the next pair that we did have on Friday, we're not looking at today, was the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, at 10 o'clock, where the price was, it was back within this main seller's area, but you can see the market was ranging. You can see the price did manage to still pull back towards the buyer's area, giving us a buying opportunity multiple times during the day. But you can see at 3 o'clock during the US market open, the price was within the seller's area, so no trading opportunity at that time. You can see the price did pull back. 4:30, if we do end up looking at the price at 4:30, price was back within the buyer's area, gave a very nice probe to show the price holding below. Could have actually had another buy, making sure to manage your trade within this area. And you can see a similar situation as well during the Asian session, where the price managed to come all the way back down to the main buyer's area right here at the bottom. And you can see the Asian big boys did manage to take this price up, coming back all the way to this problem area. But unfortunately for us today, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list. Similar situation, the US dollar and the Swiss franc, both showing weakness, and we could find this market just ranging between these two levels. So unfortunately for us, there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Now, moving on to the next kind of pair we did have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation, it seems like the yen pairs did have that correlation where they did move during the US session, and we did end up having a look at it on the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. You can see during the US market open, that's when the price really did shoot up, showing a lot of yen weakness. So we can see the same thing on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar situation, the trade at 10 o'clock was within the seller's area, did give us a nice selling opportunity. Can see even when the market breached this area to the downside, there was a pullback, confirming that the price was actually holding below, giving us another selling opportunity to end up coming back down all the way towards this buyer's area. You can see that this buyer did end up giving a lot of issues. That was just around 4:30 or so, but just after 4:30, and you can see the yen weakness really coming in, breaking this area to the upside. So unfortunately for us, these are pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So even though you can still see the price going up, this just means that the Japanese yen is weaker than the Canadian dollar, but that doesn't mean that the Canadian dollar is also not weak. Might not necessarily be showing weakness now, but you could find once it starts showing that weakness, you could find the price coming down. So that's the reason we're not looking for any buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So moving on to the last pair for review, we did end up having the US dollar against Canadian dollar. Unfortunately, this one did not necessarily work out well for us. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, at 10 o'clock, price was within this small buyer's area. We wanted to see a sign of big boy buyers actually coming in, but you can see the price actually came below. We're hoping to see the price coming back in and holding above, but it actually held below this area. So we wanted to see what happened within the next area. Did give a small probe right here where you can see the price came down, came back up, was holding above slightly, but these were just very huge probes. The price never actually properly held above. And you can see when the price actually breached properly to the downside, you can see there was a pullback, confirming that that level has actually been broken. And that meant this pair is off our watch list. So that's it for all the review pairs. So we're going to jump straight into today's pairs. But remember, we don't necessarily show screenshots on Monday, ideally because we don't necessarily get that many on Friday. But remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us via WhatsApp. Our contact details are there in the chat box. So let's jump on to today's pairs. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them with all the pairs on the buy side. So that's the New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar, British pound, all the way to the euro. Then we'll do the same thing with the Canadian dollar, the yen, and the US dollar before we do have a look at the gold, silver, as well as a few indices as well. So starting off with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now, this is a currency pair that we did have on Friday. And you can see we did have these highlighted areas. So these were the three areas that we did have on Friday. You can see the trade worked out very, very well. So you can see the timing. So at 10 o'clock, where the price was, it was within the buyer's area. Did give some sort of small probe, confirming that the price was actually holding above. So you could have looked for a buying opportunity then. The second option was once you can see the price managed to break this area to the upside, you can see it pulled back, holding above. So that was a confirmation that that level was broken. Could have actually looked for another buying opportunity there, making sure to manage our trade within the seller's area. Because you can see the price did end up approaching the seller's area at around 3 o'clock. And during the US session, you can see from 3, nothing much really happened. The price was actually just ranging between these levels. So the main move really happened during the London session. Now, it's ideally, it's not, we did end up kind of expecting it. Remember, this is dealing with the Swiss franc pair, and the Swiss franc is a country in Europe, so that's when they're mainly active. So when the countries that are active during those particular sessions. So for example, during the Asian session, you'll find the Japanese yen, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the Australian dollar being very active. During the London session, you'll find the euro, the British pound, and the Swiss franc being very active. And during the US session, you will find the US dollar as well as the Canadian dollar being very active during those times. So you can end up figuring out when the markets are going to move. So you can see even this pair did move during the Asian session right here, going to the upside. But remember, that has something to do with the New Zealand dollar, since it's mainly active during the Asian session. So today, the bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we have adjusted the level slightly. We do have a big seller's area right here at the top. So as usual, since we're looking for buys, we don't want to buy anywhere close to that area unless we do get the price breaching and holding above. That's when we can end up looking for buying opportunities. Similar situation to what happened here. You can see we did end up illustrating it nicely. Well, if we did get the price breaching and holding above, then there was a buying opportunity. So let's hope to see if we can possibly see something similar right here at the top, or hopefully we can end up getting a pullback to one of these two areas. So either this conservative area, this is a major support and resistance area where the buyers could react from. But if it doesn't react from there, be aware that the price can still come all the way down towards this area. Because remember, by the time that the price starts coming down, once it breaches below this area where these buyers look as if they seem to be, most people, their buyers will switch and they'll start looking for sells. And remember, in order for us to buy, we need sellers. So if you do see some sort of probe or price action signal within this area, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities there. So I hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. If we move on to the next Swiss franc pair, which is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc, similar situation. The Swiss franc pair has really worked out quite nicely for us on Friday. So in this kind of pair, we were looking for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that we had pointed out right here. So similar situation with the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. You can see that correlation at 10 o'clock during the London market open. We did get the price breaching and holding above, so we could have looked for a buying opportunity there. We did miss that opportunity. You can see there was another one right here where the price did manage to actually breach and hold above this particular area, which did end up giving us another buying opportunity within that area. But similar situation during the US market, the market was just within this area, just ranging. It did end up attempting to try and come up a bit during the Asian session. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we have pointed out. So some correlation coming in with the Australian dollar as well as the New Zealand dollar, since both of these pairs are usually quite active during the Asian session. So you can see the way they look similar. So let's hope if we can end up getting a pullback coming in within this particular area. So if we do end up getting some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular area, we could end up looking for a buying opportunity. And we also, remember, watch out for the market opening times. So it's at 10, 3, and 4:30. As well as take note, even though we have made sure that you are aware of those particular times, also take note of times when there will be some fundamental news. You can see today we do have a number of euro news, some British pound news, so you could end up finding the markets actually moving at that particular time. So if you're looking for a specific pair, let's say you trade the euro, watch out for these times because you could find the markets moving at that time. So moving on, let's move on to the next Swiss franc pair. We do have the British pound against the Swiss franc. Now, on this kind of pair, on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the buys were a bit tricky. We did have a particular blue line right here, area that we did point out that since the buyers were reacting from here, it could end up reacting within that area. Which you can see during the London market open, we did get a price breaching and holding above. So there was a small buying opportunity where the market did manage to go up, but you can see at 3 o'clock, once the US market came in, we did end up getting a pullback. So the US big boys decided to give us a pullback, coming back towards this buyer's area. And you can see at the time it took off was during the Asian session where the price managed to really continue going to the upside. So ideally, we had identified these three areas. But as you can see right now, the price does look as if it is breaching this area to the upside, which is a good sign for us. It just means we know the big boys are definitely interested in buying this kind of pair. But as usual, we don't want to buy at such a high price. So the main thing we'd want to see is, let's see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in. And within this pullback, the objective should be that that pullback comes in much slower in comparison to how these buyers have come up. You can see the way the buyers have come up within like 2 or 3 candles. But if we do see many small candles and you can see the market struggling to come down, that will be a good sign for us to be able to look for buying opportunity and watch out for the market opening times as well as the fundamental times. You can see this, we're dealing with the British pound against the Swiss franc. And you can clearly see today we have some British pound news at 11:30. So you might find that it doesn't necessarily move at 10. You might find it end up moving at 11:30. So just take note of that. So this will ideally be the areas we'll be focusing on. Chances are, if it does end up coming back in and holding below, then we'll still be looking for buying opportunities, hoping to see if we can grab our buying opportunities within this area. But for now, it looks as this area right here at the top seems to be the best area to look for buying opportunities on the British pound against the Swiss franc. Now, moving on to the next and last Swiss franc pair we do have, which is the euro against the Swiss franc. Now, in this kind of pair, similar situation, our buyers both look for buying opportunities. We can see that Swiss franc weakness really coming in, but also at the same time, the euro is also showing a lot of strength. So unfortunately, the strength, even though we're looking for those buying opportunities on Friday, didn't really fully appear. Can clearly see at 10 o'clock, the market did manage to break this area to the upside, and it was holding above. Can see during the US session, it did end up giving us a pullback, but the price never actually held below this area. You can see this was just a probe. Once a probe happened, the price pulled back, coming back towards the support and resistance area. So unfortunately, the London big boys not interested, the US big boys were not interested, but it seems that the Asian big boys were really interested. It being a new month, you can clearly see the way the price has really gone to the upside. So overall today, buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. A similar situation with the British pound against the Swiss franc. We do see the price actually holding above this area, then we can actually end up looking for buying opportunities. But for now, this would not be the best place to look for any buying opportunities. And if you compare how these buyers have come up, you can clearly see the way they've come up. And if you compare that with the way the buyers came up within the British pound against the Swiss franc, you can clearly see this pair, or at least the British pound against the Swiss franc, has really broken and gone past that level. But the euro against Swiss franc, not so much. So you might not necessarily find the market actually holding above within this area. It could, but ideally you need to watch out for that. You could easily find the price actually coming back in, pulling all the way back towards this particular area. Right now, it's definitely incited. All those later buyers are definitely looking for buys. So if all those guys who are looking for buys now, even if they were hiding the stop loss, chances are they're either putting the stop losses here or even within this area. So if the price comes down, stops them out, all those people who are thinking that it's a buy and have just been stopped out will now switch their bias and start looking for sells, not realizing that it's just a pullback, inciting people to look for sells before the buys actually take off. So we'll wait and see what ends up happening on the euro against Swiss franc. But remember, there are also euro fundamentals today. So do end up watching out for that as well. So you can see some euro news at around 10:55 or 11, as well as some euro news at 12, as well as at 3. So those are the times you could end up finding the euro pairs actually taking off. So hope that's clear on all the Swiss franc pairs as we move on to the next currency pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the Canadian dollar pairs, do the same thing as we've done with the Swiss franc pairs. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on this currency pair, on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that we had pointed out. So initially, remember, we did point out that the way the price was looking and it held below, this pair did fall off our watch list. However, if we did see the price coming back in, you can see the diagram that I've drawn here. We did see the price coming back in and holding above, then we could actually end up looking for buying opportunities. So you can see that was at 10 o'clock when the price actually started moving to the upside. Once it came back in and was holding above, there was a buying opportunity that did end up happening. Remember, make sure to manage your trade within these fast moving areas. And if you realize, unfortunately, the price did not necessarily get all the way to the extreme because this level was never actually broken. You can see when the price goes to the upside, when it pulled back, it never held above. We tried it again. When it pulled back, it never held above. It actually came back in and held below. So this ideally is what we end up calling a probe. Or a peaky. These are ideally good signals, especially if it's in your direction, can end up giving you some nice trading opportunities. So once the price came back in and it was holding below, you can see it still managed to come all the way back down till the main buyer's area. So today, we've adjusted the top level slightly. We'll just move it a bit lower just in order to make sure that we do end up managing our trade within these problem areas. So we'll still be focusing on these 3 locations to look for buying opportunities. We realize right now we're within a seller's area, so definitely not a good place to look for your buying opportunities. But we are starting to notice something. You can see the way the sellers were coming down, very aggressive. They managed, in fact, if you compare how they came down here, they managed to come all the way from this area to pull back down to here. The next time price came within this area, they were only able to pull back to here. next time you can see they're only struggling. They seem to be struggling within this particular area. So what we're expecting to see, either, okay, at least the hope would be to end up getting a pullback, coming back within this area to look for a buy. But if that doesn't happen, and you see these sellers areas not actually holding, what you could end up actually finding is the price breaching to the upside. But this time, once we do get the price holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So we watch out to see what ends up happening, but we need the price to breach this area to the upside first. So hope that's clear. And then the NZDCAD, as we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair, the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Very nice buying opportunity that did come about. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Similar situation with the the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar, where the price did look as if it had broken this area to the downside, which you can see, unfortunately, this one did not necessarily give us that pullback and hold above. This one held below slightly, but managed to reach the upside, did not get a pullback within this area, but you can see it did do it within the next problem area. And the time it took off was just around 3 o'clock, where the price is actually holding above and could have looked for a buying opportunity to continue taking the price up higher. So today, buyers is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. If you compare how these buyers did end up coming to the upside, so if you look at the way these buyers pushed up right here and compare how the sellers are coming in, you can compare and see that the sellers are coming in way slower in comparison to the buyers, which is a good thing. Possibly means that these buyers who bought have not yet gotten out of the market and they're still holding on, possibly looking to be able to enter again. So as the market is coming down and you can see it starting to slow down within this area, hopefully we should be able to see some buyers coming in to potentially end up looking for a buying opportunity. The same way that it seems that the price is actually holding above this particular area. So hopefully we can end up getting that trading opportunity there. If the buyers don't actually end up taking off, you can see there's a small seller's area right here that you need to watch out for. If we are able to get the price breaking this area to the upside and holding above, there could be a small conservative buy to take the price up higher towards this main seller's area. But if these sellers still hold and you see the price coming back in and holding below, then chances are we can still come all the way down towards this main buyer's area, and we'll still be looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So let's wait and see what happens on this pair as we move on to the next currency pair, which is the British pound against the Canadian dollar. It seems that the British pound pairs are showing a lot of strength at the moment. And you can be able to see, we did see that on the British pound against the Swiss franc. So it's no surprise. The way you're seeing this price going up, it definitely has something to do with the British pound pairs. So on this currency pair, yes, on Friday, we were looking for buying opportunities. The buys didn't fully work, but you can see there were small opportunities. At 10 o'clock, price was within a seller's area. Remember, I did point out either breach the upside or we could end up getting that pullback. It seems that the pullback did manage to come in holding above within this particular area. There was a small buying opportunity because you can see the price managed to still go all the way up towards this particular problem area. And if you notice, the price was within that seller's area at around 3 o'clock. So if you did not manage your trade there, you can see the US big boy did bring it down lower. This buyer's area did react, coming back within the seller's area, but it just confirmed that this level right here was broken to the downside. And you can see as the price came down lower, the price ended up giving us a very nice probe right here, holding above. So even though we mentioned these times, 10, 3, and 4:30, sometimes they also end up moving during the Asian session as well, which you can clearly see this one did, where it has managed to start moving all the way to the upside. So if you did manage to grab this trade earlier in the morning, if you are awake, then at least you should be managing your trade now. So for us, we're not just going to start jumping in on buying opportunities. We definitely know the big boys want to buy this, but you can see how high it is, and we're already back in a seller's area. So let's hope we can end up getting the sellers coming in struggling. Similar situation with the British pound against the Swiss franc. We do see the price coming back in, holding above, and the way it comes down in slowly, then we should be able to look for a very nice buying opportunity on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So watch out for these three levels. If the buyers continue going up strong and these sellers don't hold the market, so if we get the price breaching and holding above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities as well on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that's clear as we move on to the last Canadian dollar pair we do have, which is the euro against the Canadian dollar. Similar situation in this kind of pair. Our bias on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had highlighted, looking for those buys. So during the London market open, price was in the seller's area, so no buying opportunity then. You can see the price did manage to pull back. It did end up attempting to try and come up. You can clearly see the price managed to get within this seller's area as well. But you can see that was around 3 o'clock, so the price did end up giving us a pullback. it looks as if it came all the way back down to the main buyer's area, but it came down quite aggressive. But if you notice the time, that was at exactly 4:30. So there was another small buying opportunity there. If you missed that, you can clearly see when the price broke this area, or at least showed us that it actually probed. When it came back in and was holding above, there was another buying opportunity, but it does seem as if it started moving, mainly during the Asian session. So even though the buyers we definitely know are still coming up, we'll definitely be looking for buying opportunities. We'll be focusing on these three areas. We did end up having a look at the euro against the Swiss franc, the way the price is going up quite aggressive. So we'll end up waiting to see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in within this particular area. Hopefully we end up getting a slowdown of the sellers and a sign of big boy buyers who are actually interested before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. You can see the way this one has breached is a lot better in comparison to the euro against the Swiss franc. So what might that mean? It could possibly have something to do with the Swiss franc, where the euro, yes, is showing strength. The Swiss franc, yes, is showing weakness, but maybe not as much weakness as the Canadian dollar. And that's why the euro against the Canadian dollar has gone up a bit higher. So those are the clues that you can be able to tell using correlation in terms of figuring out which pair to buy and sell. But ideally, those are concepts we'll do end up going through during the amplified Afriforex program. So do make sure you do end up signing up for that. There should be a link for that in the chat box. So that's it for all the Canadian dollar pairs. As you can see, we're mix and match the Canadian dollar with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now, let's move on to the Japanese yen pairs and do the same thing. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias here is to look for buying opportunities. You can see the yen weakness really coming in. So for us, we want to look for buying opportunities based on these three areas. So right now, we're within a seller's area. It does look as if we're attempting to breach this area to the upside, but we'll need to get proper confirmation. Although the signs are showing as if it possibly could actually breach the upside, because have a look at the way that when the price came up, look at the seller's reaction. Not necessarily that much, but when the buyers came up, look at their reaction. They're not really interested in giving much of a discount. So can clearly see if the price is able to break this area to the upside and we get a pullback and the price falls above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. But for now, we do need to see signs that the big boy buyers are actually there. Because remember, you want to buy with strong buyers. You can see these buyers that came in here were very strong. So it makes perfect sense to actually look for the next buy. But if you compare how the buyers came up this time right here to this time right here, you can clearly see the buyers are coming up a bit slower. So they're not necessarily as strong. And remember, you want to, even though we say buy with buyers, sell with sellers, you also want to buy with strong buyers and sell with strong sellers as well. So in this situation, let's wait and see what happens. Chances are we could actually even end up getting the price, not actually breaching this area to the downside. We might still end up getting the price giving us some sort of pullback, some sort of probe coming within this particular area before we're able to look for buying opportunities. And remember, watch out for the market opening times, 10:03 and 4:30. So hope that's clear. In the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen, as we're moving on to the next yen pair, which is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Some similar correlation with the New Zealand dollar against the yen. So overall, we're going to be looking for buying opportunities, but you can clearly see right now we're within a seller's area. So this is not the best place to look for the buy unless we either get the price breaching and holding above, which it could potentially do. But if it doesn't, and you can see that the buyers, the way they're coming up, isn't necessarily as strong, let's wait and see if we can end up getting a better price. So if we see the price coming back in, inciting people to actually look for selling opportunities, if the price comes back in and shows confirmation that that level has not been broken, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. So we'll wait and see what happens. But right now, the best thing for us to do is wait for that pullback potentially or a breach to the upside. So hope that's clear. It's pretty clear cut. Similar correlation with the New Zealand dollar against the yen. So as we move on to the next kind of pair, we do have the British pound against the Japanese yen. So this is clarifying or confirming the correlation happening with the British pound pair, them showing a lot of strength at the moment. So don't start chasing the buys just because, yes, they are strong. Wait for that pullback. So let's hope to see if we can end up getting a slowdown. And since you can see them all moving around the same time, meaning the pullback as well as the opportunities could also end up happening around the same time. So just watch out for that. When you see one pulling back, have a look at the next British pound pair. If you see that one pulling back, have a look at the next one. The ones that now pull back towards nice areas and you start seeing signs of big boy buyers coming back, then we could potentially end up finding some nice buying opportunities. But for now, we do not want to actually jump in on a trade now, because where would you put your stop loss? Most people, if they're jumping in on a trade, they'll put their stop losses below here. And you won't be surprised if the price ends up coming, looking as if it breaches, stops people out, then comes back in and pulls above. And most people at that time think it's the broker, but it's just based on where you're actually putting your stop loss. So let's wait and see what happens on this one. But overall, definitely looking for buying opportunities on the British pound against the Japanese yen. Now, moving on to the last yen pair, we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. Similar situation, brand new entry on our watch list. And you can see the way the pairs are actually continue going up quite strong. So we do have some correlation coming in, or at least some strength coming in with both the euro as well as the British pound. So we can clearly see the way the prices are reaching to the upside. The British pound does seem to be a bit stronger than the euro. However, both of them do look as if the big boys are interested in looking for those buying opportunities. So you can see the way the price is reaching this area to the upside. Similar situation. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting a pullback, some sort of probe or price action signal to actually look for that buy. But remember, this level has not actually been broken just yet. You could easily find the price coming back in and holding below, meaning all those people who are incited to look for buys could end up easily getting stopped out, and you might find the price still pulling back all the way to this middle SNR before we actually look for those buying opportunities. So we'll wait and see what happens. But right now, more correlation on the British pound pair. This one, the fact that it hasn't reached that far, could have a possibility that this could end up being approved. So just take note of that, but also just wait for that pullback, wait for the discount before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So hope that is it for the Japanese yen pairs. As you can see, we'll mix and match all those pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to move on to the US dollar pairs. So on the US dollar pairs, we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So brand new entry on our watch list, and on this kind of pair, our bias here is going to be looking for buying opportunities. But if you can identify where we are, we're within a seller's area, so definitely not a good place to look for your buys. Ideally, let's see if we can end up getting that pullback coming in, either within this area, because it does seem to be entering some sort of small range. So it would definitely be best to look for your buying opportunities at the bottom of the range. But if you find the price breaching and holding below the range, there's still the possibility the price can pull back all the way to this particular area. You can see this is the area where the buyers at 3 o'clock during the US market open did end up gaining a lot of strength, pushing it to the upside. So the price can still pull back all the way to here, inside people to look for sales, and you find the buyers actually taking off again within that area. So we're watching out for that. But if you remember, if the price breaches and holds below the red SNR, ideally this pair will fall off our watch list. So we'll look and see what happens on this pair. Have a look at the other New Zealand dollar pairs as well. You could end up finding some correlation. So if you see New Zealand dollar strength coming in on one, have a look at the other pairs to identify whether or not it's actually the New Zealand dollar showing strength, or it could be the counter currency actually showing weakness. So it could be one of the two. So coming to the Australian dollar against the US dollar, you can see some similar correlation with the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Overall, bias is to look for buying opportunities. The buyers did end up taking off within this particular area, but you can clearly see we do seem to be in some sort of small range. So we look to see if we can grab a buying opportunity within the buyers area. But this being the Australian dollar against the US dollar, we do have a major SNR area right here. According to a much larger time frame, you can see how much the market has actually held within this particular area. On a bigger time frame, I think in the daily, this ends up just being a huge probe where the price looks as if it came down and came back in. So when the market probes, there's usually a possibility that the price can still pull back all the way toward those areas, and you find that the price actually reacting within those locations. So we'll watch out for that. But overall, definitely we'll be looking for buys, but look for buys within a buyer's area, as well as within one of the market opening times. That will increase your probability. Because remember, trading is not a guarantee. We're mainly here dealing with probability. That's why we keep on saying if the price breaches certain level, then you can end up looking. Because as you wait and be patient, you will increase your probability of that trade working out. And remember, as long as your probability is high and you're dealing with risk to reward, you will guarantee to be able to make money on the charts. So let's move on to the next US dollar pair, which is the British pound against the US dollar. You can clearly see the way this it seems to have been some sort of range bouncing between these two levels. Right now, the price has definitely reached the upside, and you can clearly see this being the British pound against the US dollar. you definitely know it's a British pound showing a lot of strength. So, which is a good sign. There could be some nice buying opportunities on the British pound. Remember, these buys don't necessarily just die out like that. But at the same time, we don't want to buy at such a high price. So we'll wait to see if we can end up getting that pullback. The illustration I think I've drawn on all the British pounds do seem to be the same. Ideally, it is because of the correlation that is happening. The way the buyers came in, we want to see the sellers coming in much slower. If we do see them coming in very aggressive as the buyers, you need to watch out and not necessarily start jumping in that buy. You could easily end up getting stopped out where you find the price still coming back in. Because remember, this price has been ranging. And usually with ranges, once a range is reached, there's a high probability of the price actually pulling back the top of that range and actually taking off from there. So you need to get confirmation that the price is actually holding above the top of the range first in order for you to look for your buy. Don't just end up putting a pending order there because you could easily end up getting stopped out as well. So that's that for the British pound against the US dollar. Definitely some strength coming in. So I'm assuming also on the euro against the US dollar, which we're clearly seeing here, there's also a lot of strength on the euro. So overall, we'll definitely be looking for buying opportunities. We watch out for these three areas of interest that we'll be looking for buys. There's a conservative, semi-conservative, and the aggressive area all the way down towards this buyers area right here. So overall, I think if we do end up going to a higher time frame, I think the 1 hour time frame, you can see this seems to be some sort of area that seems to have been holding quite a bit. And the way the buyers came up, you can clearly see we're at the top there. Let's wait and see what happens. But in terms of a pullback, first of all, we need to get confirmation that this is actually a breach. You can see the way the sellers are coming down. It's not really very slow, which is not a good sign for us. So if we do see the price coming in aggressive and holding below, then we'll still be looking for our buying opportunities, possibly within this particular area, or it could come down all the way to the main buyers area. But if you see the price probing and holding above this particular location, we should be looking for buying opportunities. So if you see this pattern, even if the price actually holds above within this area, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities on the euro against the US dollar. But do trade the euro with caution, because remember, we also have a number of fundamentals for the euro the whole day today. You can see in 17 minutes, 10.55, at 11, at 12, at 3, at 3.15. So the euro will be volatile as well. So that definitely should give us some nice trading opportunities as well. So that's it for all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices before we do have a look at gold and silver. Then I should be able to address any questions in the Q&A section if they are in. So we'll start off with the NASDAQ 100. Now, on this currency pair, on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. It still is the same situation today. You can see the price within this particular area, the three areas that we had pointed out. 10 o'clock, price was within the seller's area. We're hoping to see if we can end up getting a pullback. It still held within that area, gave some sort of probe, managed to come all the way down. And you can see this was now during the US market open. So at 3 o'clock, a lot more volatility, because remember, we're dealing with the NASDAQ, so the NAS 100, top 100 companies in the US. So it's going to be more active during the US market. So you can see once 3 o'clock came in, we did get a probe. The price pulled back, came back all the way to this main buyer's area, gave a trading opportunity. And if you notice the time, that was at exactly 4:30. So it's not that we're saying these times for fun. Those times, if you find the prices within those areas, could end up giving you some nice potential trades or giving you an opportunity to manage your trade already. So you can see the price managed to go up, did end up going up quite aggressive. But remember, we always tell you, make sure you manage your trade within these locations. Now you can see, look at how aggressive the buyers came in. It looked as if this level was broken, but you can see when the price came down, how aggressive it was. It was very aggressive. So it would have been very risky to look for buying opportunities. And remember, wanted to see the price actually holding above. But unfortunately, you can see the price came back in and is actually holding below. That just meant this level has not been broken just yet. And you can see later on, the price managed to come all the way back down towards the main buyer's area. So overall here, we're going to still be looking for buying opportunities. Remember, with the NASDAQ, or at least the indices, as well as gold and silver, we are purely technical, meaning when the prices break below or above the red support and resistance areas, the bias will change. So in this, at least for the currency pairs, the pairs will fall off our watch list. But for the indices, as well as gold and silver, if the price breaks and holds below the red SNR, ideally at that time, we'll actually be able to start looking for selling opportunities. But as long as we're holding above this area, the buyers should still be looking for buys. So we'll wait and see if we can potentially end up getting some sort of pullback coming in within this area, showing us confirmation prices holding above before we're able to look for buying opportunities. Make sure you manage your trade within this problem area. We do get the price breaching and holding above. We need two things. We don't necessarily just want a breach. You can see the breach happened within this particular area, but there was no hold above, meaning there was no trade, regardless of how aggressive the buyers came in. So we'll wait to see. If we get the price holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. Definitely watch out for this area. It's definitely a strong seller's area because you can see how much strength the buyers attempted to break this area to the upside and still could not, and the sellers pushed it down. So do make sure you manage your trade within those locations. So that's it for the NASDAQ. So let's move on to the US 30, the Dow Jones. So overall, on Friday, our bias here was to actually look for selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. So at 10 o'clock, the price looked as if it was holding above this particular area. You can see once it held above, at that time, no selling opportunity. You can see the illustration here we wanted the price to breach and hold below. So unfortunately, that did not happen during the London session, but you can see from 3 o'clock, that's when the market really got active. You can even compare the size of the candle. Did end up getting a pullback where the price looked as if it was breaching this area to the upside. Did give a very nice probe where the price came back and held below. This was a small pullback confirming the price was holding below in order for us to give us some nice selling opportunities. Now, if you did miss that, you can see within the next area, once the price came below and actually held, you can see this is the same illustration that I've drawn here. This is the hope that we want to see. Once you can end up finding and confirming that the price is holding below, you can see there was a very nice selling opportunity, but remember, make sure you manage your trades. You can clearly see this ended up probing as well, even though it looked as if it reached. So at some point in time, the price was all the way down here. It was a big red candle. So most people were possibly jumping in on sells. But you can see we did not get confirmation that the price was actually holding below. It ended up just being approved. So overall today, since you can clearly see the levels are still remaining, we're still within those same levels. So we pretty much have the exact same areas that we did end up having on Friday. Still looking for selling opportunities, but we'll watch to see if we can grab a selling opportunity either at the top, similar situation to what happened on Friday, or if we do end up getting the price doing the same thing, right? We can get the price breaching and holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities, but you do need to make sure you manage your trade within this problem here. The price does go up, break above the red SNR, and it actually holds above. You can see yesterday it was just a probe, or sorry, in Friday it was just a probe, but if it actually holds above, we should be able to look for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. So I hope that is clear on the Dow Jones. So moving on to silver. Now, on silver, on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Sorry, apologies. It was actually to look for selling opportunities. Let me just go and look at what happened on Friday. Yep, on Friday, we were looking for selling opportunities. Today, we have switched sides and we are going to be looking for buys. So you can see the three areas that we had pointed out on Friday, and price was already within that seller's area on Friday. Now, we wanted to see if the price was actually going to pull back and fall below, but you can clearly see the price actually breached to the upside, confirming the price was holding above. This was during the London session, giving us a buying opportunity. Now, who are the buyers who pushed up? You can clearly see these are the buyers right here who did manage to break this area to the upside. So right now, we have changed our bias because as long as we're holding above this red support and resistance area, we will be looking for buying opportunities. If the price breaks below this red SNR, then I think our bias will now switch again and turn back into sellers. It could have something to do with the higher time frames, but remember, since we're focusing on these small levels, we're focusing on day trading. The trades that we're telling you are not there for the whole week. Ideally, it's just for a particular session. That's why sometimes you're finding the trades working during the London session, then it turns back during the US session, or working out during the US session, then during the Asian session, something else happens. So just make sure you are managing your trade, and it's just for session trading only. Now, if you do end up going to a much larger time frame, I think it will be a bit clearer why the price did manage to come all the way back towards the seller's area, and it makes sense why these sellers did end up reacting. However, look at the way the sellers came down the first time, very aggressive within that area, but compare how they've come down the next time. Quite slow and come back to a support and resistance area that it was reached. So chances are we'll be still looking for those buying opportunities. Let's hope to see what ends up happening, but just make sure you manage your trade within the top area. We do get the price breaching and holding below. At that time, we should be able to look for selling opportunities on silver. Now, last but not least, fan favorite for most people here, we do have gold. So on gold, our bias here is to look for buying opportunity. Now, even though we do have these three areas that we had on Friday, we have not necessarily changed the levels much, because when we compare this move that came up to the upside on Friday, or at least on a higher time frame, it looks as if this level still seems to be holding, and maybe this was just a huge pull. I think possibly if we can end up going quickly to the 4-hour time frame, we can see where the price came back in, and seems to be holding below. So there is some caution within this particular area right there. So we'll definitely still be looking for buying opportunities on this currency pair based on these three areas. So Friday, 10 o'clock, we did get the price breaching to the upside. There was a small buying opportunity, but at 3 o'clock, the market did end up giving us a pullback. So the pullback has come in a bit slowly, coming back in. Unfortunately, we wanted to see if we can end up getting the price pulling back within this particular support and resistance area, or for it to come all the way back to the main buyers area, and we'll still be looking for buying opportunity. But for now, let's wait and see what happens. It's also showing a sign that this area, this seller's area that we are at the top, might not necessarily be doing much. You can see the price has come down, not necessarily doing much. It's attempted to go up, the way it's come down, seems to be holding within this area, but there's a possibility that this level might actually end up being broken. The sellers don't necessarily look as strong, coming from a very strong seller's area. So let's wait and see. We can end up getting the price breaching, holding above. Let's see if we can get a pullback and the price holds above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities. But for now, let's wait and see what happens. Since we're within a seller's area, definitely not a good place to look for a buying opportunity. We either need that breach to the upside, or let's wait and see if we can end up getting a pullback coming in before we continue looking for buying opportunities on gold. So I hope that's clear for everyone. So that is it for all the currency pairs, including the indices. So this is the watch list for today. Remember, there are fundamentals coming out. So we do have a lot of euro fundamentals, as well as some British pound fundamentals. So do watch out for that. There could be some nice trading opportunities for you at those particular times. So let me see if there are any questions in the Q&A section before we call it a day, and we can jump into the London session. So I'm seeing Daniela saying, good morning, Mitch. Can you roll GU for me? So GBPUSD, here we are. So we're definitely going to be looking for buying opportunities. I hope this is clear for you, Daniela. Right now, we've reached this area so high. So let's wait and see if we can actually end up getting a pullback before we actually end up continuing looking for those buying opportunities. Remember, we need a discount. We won't just go buy the most expensive dress or most expensive shoes at the shop. We'll definitely ask for the best price, right? So it should be the same concept here on the charts. Let's wait to see if we can get that pullback. We definitely know people want to buy this, but let's wait and see if we can buy it at a cheaper price to sell it to people who are still willing to buy at a higher price. So I hope that's clear for you, Daniela. So not seeing any more questions, which is okay. That gives us some time, at least a few minutes before we are able to jump onto the London market open, because remember that happens at 10 o'clock. We keep on pointing out these times, 10, 3, and 4:30. So let's wait and see what happens then. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope this session has been of value. Remember, if you are watching us on YouTube, or Facebook, or any of the other social media platforms, don't forget to like or give us a share, or even let us know what we can end up doing to make this session better for you guys. Remember, we're doing this for you. So if we're giving you information that you're not even using, there'd be no point of actually showing it. Or if there's some information that you want, or at least would like to have in the mornings as well, just let us know, and we can end up adjusting these sessions to best suit you guys as well. So I guess that's it. Hope you guys have an amazing trading day. May the pips be with you. God bless you guys. Happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.